there'll be a quick second where I'll need to mute my screen. But now it's just be like, it'll start off with this random awkwardness that we have right now. There'll be a quick second where, all right, so we are muted and we are live. And since I had to restart my computer and get things going, we're a couple minutes late. So let's just dive right into the latest episode of The Advisor of Tomorrow live with my friend TJ Van Gerven. So TJ, thank you for joining me today and doing the live things. This is different than your regular podcast where you get to record it, edit it. You can make mistakes. Like this is the real deal right now.
I get a little nervous.
That's all right. You're gonna be a natural. So real quick, the conversation today is going to center around TJ is a younger advisor, started his own firm from scratch, and I want to kind of help people understand how that's possible, what you learned from it, but also true to my nature, you do a lot of great content. That's a big part of your growth. So I want to talk about that as well. And it doesn't seem like it, but it was just over a year ago. You and I were hanging out at the Starbucks at the Riskalyze Fearless Investing Conference. That seems like 5 years ago. So it was pretty cool that you made the trip into Boston just to hang out for a little bit. I really appreciated that. Enjoyed getting to meet you in person. And since then have been following you, trying to drop a little bit of fatherly wisdom on you from time to time, which we'll touch on here in a little bit.
Appreciate that.
Real quick, TJ, why don't you give everybody your background, where you're located, the name of your firm, kind of how you got to be an advisor, and then we're going to dive into Modern Wealth Builders here in a minute. Give your background.
All right. So I grew up on Martha's Vineyard. It's an island off of Massachusetts. So I kind of had a little bit of a unique growing up, I would say, just being kind of sheltered in that community. It's just a really important community to me. But I ended up going to school in Virginia at Virginia Tech. My dad actually was down there at the time. And so I got introduced to the school. So on a whim, kind of went down there, like the whole sports scene and everything. So I ended up I was an economics major, didn't really know what I was doing. I'd always been into investing. I didn't really know anything about personal finance. Also, I didn't really know anything about investing at the time, but I thought I did. And basically just one way or another, went through a residence program, this thing called Advisors Ahead that placed me, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it placed me with an advisor in the Northern Virginia area that was an Ameriprise office. And it was a really good advisor. She was a super successful advisor within the Ameriprise franchise. And she kind of showed me the ropes around how to actually conduct financial planning meetings. And I would say she was a really great financial planner. I think she kind of wishes she would have went the RIA route if she hadn't been so far into Ameriprise at that point. But she really helped me get all my licenses. So I got my Series 7, Series 66, life insurance license. And then I started studying for the CFP designation. So I basically did all of that I graduated in 2015 from Virginia Tech. And basically from the day I graduated, for 2 years, I just worked for her and trying to learn as much as possible. Did a ton of admin stuff. So I was just basically doing ACATs all day long, trades all day long. But it was, in hindsight, so valuable because it made it easy. I think that was one thing I didn't struggle with at all, is like how to do all the behind the scenes paperwork. So, I was in the Northern Virginia area and I wanted to get back to Boston where I'm located now. So I live in Woburn. It's a town north of Boston, which I work out of. And so basically my whole vision from the start was, in the back of my mind, I knew I wanted to start it. I had no clue what the steps were. So basically while I was working and studying and trying to learn as much as possible and kind of accelerate the process, because I did it pretty much as quick as you probably could ever do it. That led me to discover XY. I actually did work for another independent advisor when I moved back to Boston in like 2018. So I worked for him for not very long. And we just didn't really click, but we can get into that later. So anyways, my firm is Modern Wealth Builders, just a solo advisor at this point. I'm working with mostly Gen X and Gen Y. So I really kind of bought into that XY model. Still kind of building out exactly what my niche is, and we can talk about that later, but that's just a quick overview.
Well, and I forgot to lead off with a big congratulations. I think I saw not too long ago, you officially hit 2 years on your own. That's a big milestone. I think every year you make it, and then as you get further along, it's not as exciting, but you made it this long in the profession, but 2 years out on your own. That's a big congratulations because a lot of people don't. So
Yeah.
So at what point did the idea of starting your own company become a big part of it? So you spent the time with the Ameriprise advisor,
Hmm.
came back to Boston,
Hmm.
didn't find a good fit.
Hmm.
Why didn't you go try to find another better fit versus just let's go do it myself?
Mm. Well, it was definitely a combination of like a healthy amount of like arrogance and confidence where I got humbled quickly, but I thought I was like, I can do this myself. As far because I felt like I had the technical knowledge, and I had seen kind of the interactions day to day, but I didn't. For example, like that Ameriprise advisor, I have so much respect for her, even more so now, just because I recognize, how much work went in to build her reputation because people were just coming in the door, and I was like, oh, this is easy because you know, the service aspect I feel like I can do, but there's so much more that goes into it. So basically the mindset was, he was an older advisor, nothing, he's a great advisor, but we just didn't see eye to eye on kind of the future of the industry and everything as far as where the value was and fees and business model. And I wanted to work with younger folks. So basically I was like, I wanted to give it a shot. I felt like I could wait, but I was like, I might have more money 10 years from now, but I won't have as much time and more responsibility. So it was kind of like a give and take. And I took a really conservative approach to kind of building. But once I discovered XY Plan Network and most importantly, getting access to TD Ameritrade Institutional, that was really what put me over the edge.
Your story sounds eerily similar to mine, other than you ramped up a lot quicker than I did. But the last stop before I started my firm was with an older advisor, a very good advisor, nothing bad to say.
Mm-hmm.
But again, differences not only from the future. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to work with young professionals as well, but also just from a value in our current time. So I was
Mm-hmm.
talking to somebody yesterday, I forget who it was, and we were talking about balancing time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget, she made the comment to me that at the time we just had Roman and Leo,
Mm-hmm.
and that I should sacrifice my time away from the family when they're little because they're going to need me more when they're older. And her logic was the problems your kids have, the issues they have when they need you is greater because they're older. Like, girlfriend problems, school
Right.
problems, like those problems as in the grand scheme of life are bigger than, a young child. But to me, I didn't want to miss out on the Christmas pageants or the field trips or just being there all the time. And
Right.
my whole thing was, well, why can't I do both? Why can't I be there while they're little and then also be there when they're older?
Right.
And that was just like a difference in viewing. And I just think that's generational.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The older generation, that was the mindset. You go to work, you work real hard, and you're there later on. Versus, you're a lot younger than I am, but I still identify like I'm barely millennial, so I still identify
Mm-hmm.
with millennials. And I look at the young guys like you and Samuel Dean and Desarte. I'm like, oh, those are my peers. And wait, nope, I'm 12 years older than you guys.
Right.
But I think that that's a big generation difference. So
Yeah.
the story that you just told is very similar to mine, and I share my lengthy story just because there's going to be other people out there listening that are experiencing that same thing, and I just want them to know that that's pretty common. A lot of us go through
Mm-hmm.
that path.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you mentioned you got humbled quickly, and I do think going out on your own, you do have to have a sense of confidence. You can't doubt it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going out on your own with clients already, and we'll talk about whether you had clients or not, but if you have some clients that are going to be following you, it's even more important for you to be confident because they're taking that risk and chance with you to follow you out on your own. So
Yep.
having confidence is good. It's tiptoeing that line of ego and getting arrogant, and sometimes
Yeah.
we get humbled when we tiptoe too far.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't mind sharing, you don't have to go too deep into it, but
Yeah.
kind of what was the humbling moment? And then I want to know how you kind of got through
I
that.
mean, just so many humbling moments. I mean, I guess I thought I had this sense like when I started that I was just going to wreak havoc and all these people were going to want to work with me. And it's like, it's really hard to articulate a message, and it's not everybody necessarily needs financial planning, although I feel like I can work with anybody and add value, especially just the way I charge fees and stuff. But I guess just from the beginning, I wasn't like, I'm very anti-sales, or not sales, but just salesy. So I was very reluctant to like prospect people. I was like, I expected them to come to me. And that just, I mean, that's starting to happen more and more, but like you have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone and reach out to people and like articulate why they might want to work with you. So I guess it just took me a while to change that mindset, although I still struggle with it a little bit as far as just being a little bit more aggressive as opposed to trying to just wait for people to come to me.
Mhm.
In that sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like you. I'm not aggressive. Uh,
Hmm.
like that's why the chunk I spent at the 403B company was perfect for me because I had these school corporations where
Hmm.
teachers had accounts with my company, and I would just go in there and answer questions and give some general advice, and
Yeah.
then find the people who wanted a financial advisor. So I could very passively grow this business that one day followed me to launch my own. So I totally get it. And that's why I love the content game. I don't have to
Right.
cold call. I don't have to hassle people. I can just put the stuff out there. And the long game is, as you're seeing, it's taken a couple of years,
Hmm.
but consistently doing it and putting it out there and providing a lot of value will eventually pay
Hmm.
off. You just have to be willing to stick with it. And we're going to talk about that as well. So how
Yeah.
did you get through that? Like, it's very easy. I got to imagine it's very easy. You're by yourself,
Hmm.
solo firm,
Hmm.
and you're getting knocked down and getting humbled. How did you persevere through rather than kind of say, maybe this isn't for me?
Yeah, I just knew so I did take a very conservative approach from the beginning. I had this runway financially for my personal expenses, and I was like, you know, I mean, I would basically now would have been the time where I'd have been like, it's not going to work. Like I can't market or sell well enough. So I had a runway, and it was just having patience and discipline and building out the systems where if three people walked in the door this month, we could get them onboarded quickly and start the process. But there was an element of like I had to earn it and prove it to myself. So especially working with the younger folks and charging kind of the subscription model and stuff, just developing that service calendar, what that really looks like outside of just investment management, because sometimes they don't have the investment assets to support a traditional fee.
Mhm.
So a lot of my initial clients were friends, and I was honest with them. It was like, you kind of are my test dummy. Like I'm confident in the planning and investment stuff, but it's as far as like the service goes. And so, it took me a while just to kind of earn that or prove it to myself as far as like where the value lies and what the model looks like and what's sustainable to me from a business perspective, I guess. So it was just having conviction that staying in the game long enough would be the best way to grow the business. And I think that's proved true to me. I think there's two philosophies. You can go at it really aggressive and try to grow really quickly, but you have to go all in on that, or you can really take your time and be conservative, which that's kind of what I did.
Okay. And when you say take your time and conservative versus going hard, what do you mean by that? You mean not taking on any living body as a client and making sure you're growing with the right people, or kind of what do you mean by a conservative approach versus just go hard?
Conservative, I mean, like, so with my spending, business spending and personal spending, like, keeping my personal overhead really low, keeping my business overhead really low. So like really only paying for the essentials. Like I've done everything myself, basically. I'll pay for some things here and there. Shout out to Taylor Schulte. That was super helpful, his thing. So like I'll pay for stuff here and there, but like I want to reinvest more, and I've started to reinvest more, but I wasn't going to burn my runway because I wanted to just try to do it myself first
Hmm.
because I was balling on a budget.
Hmm. So let's dive more into your model and level search. You said it. You told your initial clients that you've got to figure out the service model. Have you changed the subscription model as far as whether what you're providing or how you're charging since day one till now? Kind of what's that evolution look like? I guess let's start back. What does it look like today? And then
Hmm.
take us back to the evolution if there was an evolution.
Hmm. In the very beginning, I did separate investment management from planning. I just really didn't like it. I don't know. I wanted to combine, so I combined it to a subscription flat fee model. I would describe my model now as really a flat fee model more than a subscription model, just because I only charge quarterly now, just because that's the frequency at which I'm comfortable meeting with clients. They have unlimited support in between that. So I really in the beginning, and we talked about this. It was honestly a part coaching business and a part planning business. And the goal was to, over time, transition clients from that coaching model to that more traditional financial planning model where you're having higher level conversations. You're not necessarily meeting as frequently, because I was meeting with a lot of clients monthly. And so that just wasn't sustainable as the business has grown. So it's really transitioned into just this quarterly flat fee that includes all investment management and financial planning, and then developing the service calendar around the initial planning process, and then the conversations we're having at each quarterly meeting. and then just making smart investment decisions, regardless whether you have 100,000, a million, 6 million. So, and I just really like that because for me, it's easy for me to sell because I believe in it. Not saying that other models aren't good. It's just that for me, that's like what I'm confident in.
I think it's a very wise comment you just made there. I don't know if you know that, but your model is easy to tell everybody about and be excited about and technically sell because you believe in it. So I think that like as you're figuring out, whether you're starting your business or figuring out how you're going to go, you've got to structure the relationship with your clients to what works right with you first.
Yep.
And then that way you have no problems. You can be challenged about your value and stand strong. And then once you find that and you believe in it, as you tell that story through content or however it might be, it will resonate with some people who want that type of relationship with an advisor. And I know you share the mindset of abundancy that I share, and a lot of us share, that you can stand tall in your business model. And if somebody doesn't like it, then that means they're not a good fit.
Right.
Either side. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You originally had the AUM separated and then merged it together. I went the other way. I had it all included, and then I have since separated it out. And partly because I've added another transition way, so it fits the way I'm doing things now. And I don't know what your stance was, but I guess it was probably better for your clients when you combine. But I grandfathered all my old clients in, so my initial subscription clients will not have the AUM fee. But anybody new going on, this is the new business model. I don't ever want to punish, if you will, anybody who was with me early on and raise fees on them when that wasn't expectation that was set at the very beginning.
Yeah. And listen, I'm not like, I think every advisor should charge their worth. For me, it was like, I know it's not good to compete on price, but like when you're starting from scratch, sometimes you got to compete on price. And it's like a VC model where it's like, I just want to get people on the platform and then I'll figure it out later. Like money's not really important to me at this time. It's like, I just want to have a proof of process.
Right. Well, no, and I didn't take it that way that you were saying your way was better than the other. There is room for all of us to have different fee structures and offer different services and charge a different way. You're being smart. Like I have pricing power in Indianapolis. Cost of living here is ridiculously lower than what you have out in Boston or New York. So I'm able to offer a lower fee, not because I'm cheaper, but because it costs us to live here. So I can charge a lower fee and be compensated for what I need and come in underneath an advisor in a bigger city. So no, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. One thing I do like, and I think this is interesting, is that you charge quarterly because that's when you meet. Because I know a lot of advisors, they stumble over, and some regulators stumble over, well, they're paying you monthly. What are you doing for that value? Where if you tie the value to the frequency of the meeting, so maybe it's a semi-annual subscription, if you will. A subscription doesn't have to be monthly. It just, so I kind of like that. And then that, I guess, in the client's eyes, feel like, well, I'm not paying TJ for the next few months, and I got to talk to him because I had a question, and now we do our review, and now he bills me. That seems fair. So I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it just goes back to like, I have to sell it to myself. I don't know if the clients necessarily cared that it was monthly, but I just hated like the advice pay just every month. I just hate that. So that's why I did it.
Well, if your clients aren't complaining, it's a good thing. So if you're charging monthly and your clients are happily,
no, it's totally fine.
Then
it was more me than the clients, honestly.
Well, no, but I think that I don't know if that's a way. I don't know if tying the frequency of the meetings to the frequency of the billing is something that a lot of advisors may have got to. I don't think I would have thought of it that way. So if there is an advisor who wants to do more of a flat fee, or wants to do a subscription, and they're stumbling with that, this is a great idea of a way that they can feel good about the way they're charging and still get paid for what they should get paid for. So I think
absolutely,
it's great. Anything else that you feel like you do different in your practice versus other advisors out there? Not good or bad, but just, that separates you from other advisors out there that you're willing to share some of the secret sauce with everybody.
I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily different. I think, although we do live in this FinTwit bubble where like I see people like yourself and I'm like, oh, I'm not doing anything different, but we're like the 1% of people that are probably doing stuff different. But I guess like, being active on all different platforms, like stories and getting engagement in stories and just building relationships there. And then just being super accessible. And it's also, again, a function of my personal, where I'm at in life, just being super accessible to clients. I mean, I'll get texts whenever, I'll get DMs whenever. So I'm just almost too accessible, but we're going to work on that over time.
I was going to say a little bit of fatherly advice coming back in. I was the same way, and I'm getting more and more to the point, but partly because timing doesn't allow for it. But when you allow that accessibility from day one, you're doing it because you really want to. You really want to be accessible, but you're going to get too busy to be able to do that, and those clients are going to be used to it, and it's going to be hard to break that accessibility, even if you tell them and they say they understand. So I don't think you're setting yourself up for a big problem, but to listeners out there, I would just be careful. I would almost, as hard as it is, try to think about what's the level of accessibility you might want down the road. Pretend you have a family, pretend you have 3 boys, 2 of whom play soccer and basketball. You have evening practices, and maybe you have some other things you want to do. How accessible do you want to have to be? Now, I think you should always respond quickly, but do you need to be accessible at 9:00 at night via text? Probably not. Like, set some boundaries now, and your future self is really going to thank you because you're not having to break these habits you put in back in.
Definitely.
Completely understand why you do it. I did the same thing. So just kind of like learn from my mistake and putting it out there in this.
Believe me, I've already started to have, I had to have a couple conversations, just resetting expectations, because it was already getting to be too much, even though I have a lot of free time personally. So.
Cool. So I guess let's go to the name, Modern Wealth Builders. How did you come up with that?
It honestly was just, again, about really buying into the XY model and just thinking as far as, wanting to work with those high achieving young professionals and kind of show them the right way to make decisions with their money, build wealth. I don't love the name anymore, to be honest, but that was where it originally came from. And it was doing it in just like a strategic way where we're utilizing like tools and we're doing it the right way, in my opinion. So that's where the name came from.
Do you think you'll rebrand?
I don't know. I kind of wish I attached my name to it, just because I don't really see myself going beyond a solo advisor. I mean, that could change, but it's possible. I don't know. It is what it is at this point. Because it's funny. Just, I wish I didn't tie it so much to money, because it's like technical as I am with money and talk about money and stuff, I don't really care about money that much. So I don't like having it really focus on the money aspect of things. I wish I had done something that was more about the intangible aspects of financial planning that don't have to do with building wealth. But that's the only reason.
So here's one of the ways. This is the stuff I love. These are the conversations I love that I wish I got to have more of, that were like recorded. So one way to work around that is, like, what if you started to redefine what wealth means?
Right.
So in season 1 of All About Your Benjamins, that was my question for everybody. Like, what does wealth mean to you?
Right.
And 95% of the people, the answer had nothing to do with money. So an opportunity for you is to take that word wealth and redefine it through your content and everything. So then that way, when people see it and they know it, they're like, oh, well, yeah, TJ helps with numbers, but it's much more. Like, he views wealth as, relationships and, mental health and all these different things. So an opportunity there, or you just rebrand. I'll tell you, I didn't even do a huge rebrand, but I've gone a couple times. I started the firm as RL Wealth Management. Silas around. Silas came in, so then it was RLS Wealth Management. And then when I hired Thomas, did a website. And the funny thing is, so I've dropped the management from it. Nothing major. RLS Wealth. I just think it's cleaner, it's quicker. But the only reason I came to that was the designer had one of the logos and she had dropped management off of it. And when I saw that, I really liked how clean it was, just RLS Wealth. So it is kind of fun to do a rebrand. I don't think you want to do it a bunch of times, but it allows you to, revamp the website, get some new t-shirts and some gear, and create some new excitement about what it is that you're doing. And if you do that, there's probably a good opportunity to bring something new to the dynamic of what you're doing with your clients, whether that is a new relationship, or you're going to be changing from traditional financial planning to life planning, or something like that you can tie it all in together and make it exciting.
That makes sense. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is not about rebranding and everything, but the thing I love about this, the conversation goes where it may go.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Follow it. So let's get back to starting your firm, and then we're going to get into social media and some of those other things. But so you mentioned that you're not get knocked down and kind of humbled and everything, but like, were there any major obstacles that you just didn't even think of that came in, whether it be registration taking twice as long than you thought, or startup costs being more. Is there anything that for an advisor out there thinking of leaving and launching, here's something that I didn't think about to be aware of?
I mean, my registration process did take a long time. It took me from June to October.
Massachusetts is crazy.
Yeah, they're really tough on you. But besides that, nothing in particular, I guess. Just, really, like you said, focusing on like process and systems early on, even when you have that free time, because like you said, you need to build it for 2-3 years down the road. It's just hard. I mean, you almost can't even, like, it's easy to say what you should do in hindsight, but it's like there's always this path you have to take to get to this point. Like now I'm really focused on systems and process because I have to be. But early on I wasn't, because I didn't necessarily have to be. So as far as like what I wish I would have done from the start is just focusing on the website a ton more and focusing on the path to scheduling a call and identifying who you are and those kind of things, because that can just make or break as far as at bats for talking to people and those kind of things.
And if you need a good resource for that, that's all Taylor Schulte right there. There's other people out there who help you with that, but Taylor's all about the start here and the path. So go listen to Experiments Advisor Marketing.
Yep.
He's got his private podcast now. And while we're here, let's take a moment for a mid-conversation advertisement for the AGC, the community that Taylor and I co-founded. So we're going to be opening up enrollment again beginning January. We have some exciting news coming on. So go to advisorgc.com, subscribe to the newsletter so you stay up to date. But since Taylor's name came up and I'm not above a shameless plug, we'll work in.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to publicly recruit TJ to join the AGC in 2021. So I'm gonna put the pressure on you. You don't say yes now. Wait till you see some of the announcements before you make your final decision.
I'll be there eventually. Don't worry.
All right. So back to what you would do different. But in all seriousness, Taylor, if you're looking at the why and the how, Taylor does a great job on the podcast, some of his blog posts about the importance of that. So anything else you would do different?
So not spending as much time on social media, 100%. We can talk about this next, but just I got too consumed with social media. It's just different. I think it's different when you're selling something that's like a scalable product versus like a really personalized, expensive, intangible service one-on-one. So like for me, I've really in the last 6 months just gotten into Buffer and just really scheduled out everything. And I get similar levels of engagement and it just takes up way less time. And honestly, for me, the whole goal is just to get people to my website that are qualified prospects that I want to work with and have them schedule a 15-minute phone call. Like that's it. So, obviously it's good to create high quality content. It's just hard when you're doing everything, as you know. So, just spending less time and like figuring out like what's sustainable for you. Cause I've tried everything and I did exactly what you're not supposed to do, which is like just try. I mean, you want to try different things, but you don't want to spread yourself too thin. And I felt I like probably did spread myself too thin as far as trying every single platform all at the same time, which I kind of still do. But
I think it's a personality thing. I would agree with you. Social media can be a time suck. It can be used improperly. That kind of just slows your growth. But I also think it's one of those things that we can tell you not to spend too much time on social media. But it's one of those things you've got to learn on your own. You've got to experience yourself. It's kind of like investing. Like you've got to have a bad investment to really understand how it goes against you. It's something you have to experience.
I agree with that.
I have some more thoughts on social media, but I want to get your view on social media as far as your growth as an advisor and the firm. Like when you look at social media, what is your end goal? You said it's to get to your website, but do you have other aspirations of it being able to elevate your status within your peers, or is it strictly for, I want to get people to the website?
Well, the way I look at it now is, so like if you go on my website and you go to my about page, I have the plugins for Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and the podcast. So the way I look at it is it's really just another way to kind of build that portfolio on the website where it's like, here's my body of work. So even though it might not drive engagement directly, someone goes to your website through Google search or through NAPFA or XY, whatever, then they go to your website and it just kind of tells a story of whatever you're trying to project. And for me, it's just kind of showcasing my expertise, I guess. So that's how I look at it. So I don't know. It's just hard. And I'm not saying it's this way for everybody. I think some people are way more successful on social media than others. And for me, I went through that process and I just found that it's not the best use of time for me. I still use it as a tool to build that portfolio. But does that answer your question?
No, it does. Yeah.
Or,
So from my standpoint, my thought is because I've tried it all. I enjoy it. It's a big part of how I've grown. Now, I didn't initially start out this way, but my aspirations have grown to have like growing the firm and being an advisor, but also leaving impact on the profession, working with advisors. So social media for me is not so much about growing RLS, like that is content. That's the blog, that's the podcasts. I don't expect much growth from social media, at least not from Twitter. Maybe from LinkedIn, maybe from Instagram, but I really think that is more for networking, meeting people like yourself. Like I've become a better advisor in person because of Twitter, but Twitter hasn't brought a lot of clients, a couple.
Sure.
So I have different aspirations to where social media fits in. I think really when you sit down and you build out your marketing strategy, social media should be a part of it.
Yeah.
You really have to be honest about where are you trying to go? What are you trying to build?
Yeah.
And then what are the best uses of social media? And
yeah.
even though I love FinTwit, if you have no aspirations of knowing all of the advisors across the country and being a part of that community, then there's probably no reason for you to be on Twitter unless your demographic happens to hang out there a lot. So I think it's really key to figure out where you're going to be, because if the people you're working with don't care about Twitter and you don't really care about networking with a bunch of other advisors, then that being a part of the body of work is probably meaningless.
I agree with
I think
that.
It can be customized.
Yeah, I agree with that because I have gotten some clients from social media, and the type of client that I've gotten on Facebook is vastly different than the type of client I've gotten on Twitter. So if you do know where your audience lies, then that makes sense. And I agree with you. I guess for me, I do like, I don't know if you listened to the Kids This episode with Morgan Richard recently.
I haven't listened yet. It's queued up.
Okay. Well, it's around this barbell approach of you have your practice, right? And then you kind of build that outside, more scalable thing. So that could be something in the future. But right now, I definitely just focused on this practice.
So when you think about your podcast, are you blogging at all? Okay, so your podcast and blog, do you get more feedback, response, activity from those versus social media, or is it thinking of from clients, inbound leads, people getting to the website? From your experience, what gets you more traction? Is it the actual content you create, or is it the engagement on social media? And I know those are linked, but.
So I'll be honest, like I've struggled with interpreting Google Analytics. Like I have the Google Analytics thing and I'm like trying to figure it out, but I end up just not paying attention. So I really don't know, to be honest. I think honestly, Google search has been much more better for me just because, I think for most advisors, just because, when somebody searches in Google, they're looking for something, whereas on social media, it's more like they don't know they need it necessarily. So, I definitely think like blogging is really, for me, what I want to focus on moving forward is just because, again, that stuff can compound later down the road where it can pop up in search results. So that's really what I'm focused on. And then, so social media is like buffering everything and still putting out stuff that I believe in, I think adds value, but then really focusing on at least getting out a couple blog posts a month with a podcast or video attached to it.
Yeah. Are you doing anything with email newsletters or anything other than just stuff?
Yeah, but I'm really bad at it. Like I've tried the email marketing thing. I'm still doing it. It's just, that's a lot of work. And I think that's its own avenue. And like, if you want to be good at that, you really got to focus on that and like having a thing, like getting people to your email list. And I just haven't spent the time to really build that out. And it's just so much work to do that on top of everything else.
I think you can ease into it. There's some people who have the email marketing where they've already built out this big storyline. But I think another way that you can ease into it is just a weekly or monthly email newsletter that is different from the other stuff you're putting out.
Gotcha.
So I've had a lot of success on the Advisor Tomorrow newsletter. The engagement I get there, the emails back and forth from when that email goes out is much more meaningful and more than just putting the blog out. And I think that on the newsletter tip, you could just make a newsletter every week that regurgitates everything you put out. but I don't think that brings a lot of value. But
Mhm.
if you can put something that the only place your audience can consume it is on that newsletter,
Right.
you lead off with original content that's nowhere else. Like,
Yep.
then there's a reason to subscribe to the newsletter. And then down below the fold, you can link to the other stuff that you did in case they missed it. So it's a catch-all.
Yeah.
But I hate email personally, but I love email when it comes to building lists and building relationships and growing the business. So I
Makes
don't think
sense.
you have to go all in with having a 5-step progression on email.
Right.
Maybe you use people to get to the website to get to the email, or
Mhm.
vice versa, and just kind of go that way. So
That makes sense. And I would want to do that. I just haven't spent the time building the email list, I
right.
guess. I neglected. So that's one thing I wouldn't have neglected early on, is focusing on building an email list.
Okay. So same question. I'm sure there have been times where you've been churning out this content. Clients aren't knocking down the door quite yet. You're second guessing the time and effort you're putting into it. We all do it. How do you get yourself through those hurdles?
I mean, I ultimately, I do believe in, I've always like believed in the value of the financial planning and all those things. So I was just really like, so again, when I transitioned from working for the RIA I worked for, and then Ameripress before that, I was really a paraplanner. So I had zero marketing and zero sales skills. So for me, it's just been, most of my time has been working on marketing and sales and just getting better at that. Cause it's like, you work so hard to market and get somebody in the door. And then if you can't sell, as in sell yourself, not that it's a negative connotation, like then it all falls apart. So you have to be good at all three parts: marketing, sales, service. So I always felt like I was good at the service part, but it was the marketing and sales that I was really just not good at. And I'm still working on. So that's what I would say.
I'm responding real quick to Justin Green in the notes. He said Samantha Russell just dropped a video yesterday about the goals of social media and more technical blogging. So exactly what we're talking about. I did not see that video, Samantha. I did not steal your topic, but it's kind of funny that she had that as well. So I'm sure that'll be a great thing to watch as well. And she's a former guest, so go check that video out.
Definitely.
Over on 20 over 10. So we can't talk about social media without some of the negative aspects of it. And I usually don't like to bring attention to these anonymous accounts, because they're usually anonymous,
Right.
that just bring hate and try to knock people down. But I want to bring it up with you and not go too deep. We're not talking any specific accounts or giving any attention to them, but you're one of the few advisors that doesn't shy away from them or have it. And this is where fatherly advice came in.
Right.
Somewhat embarrassing. I'm sitting out on the patio on a Saturday morning like I usually do in the summer, and I see you going back and forth with one, and I just pop open Loom, just chilling, no shirt on, enjoying the summer weather. I'm like, yo, TJ, like you got to stop. Like, you're not going to win. And I know you're not trying to win, but for those out there, I guess I feel like you have matured some, and I mean that in a positive way.
No, 100%.
Realize that that's just a waste of time.
100%.
If you're trying to change one of their minds, you're not going to. And by engaging with them, now you are putting them on your platform and giving them a bigger audience, which is really all they want. So just real quick, how have you navigated and kind of grown when it comes to the people who are negative and want to talk trash about what it is that you're doing?
So maybe I haven't matured as much as I thought, but I would just say this, I will never really engage with somebody that is an anonymous account. Like, if you're going to hide behind an anonymous account, that's just cowardly to me. If somebody's on their real legit account, like trolling you or just having a discussion with you, then that's one thing. And I'm happy, even if they're trolling you, it's like, at least you're saying it with your real, who you really are. But if they're anonymous, you just can't waste your time on it, because there's no, like you said, there's no end goal. It does take up mental headspace, whether you think it does or it doesn't. I can definitely attest to that. I think the one, I'm not going to get into the specifics, but the one that you're referencing, and the one that the reason he really bothered me was because I knew who he actually was in real life, because he wasn't anonymous before he went anonymous, and he was in the industry. So it really rubbed me the wrong way, the way he went at advisors and the way he went at me. So that's why. But again, the reason why I was a little bit more willing to go at people that come at me, I would never go at somebody out of my way, but for people that come at me, it's just because I do have conviction in what I do, and I do believe in what I do. And like I felt like I've gone out of my way to make like a super transparent business model. And so it's frustrating when people I've been called a snake oil salesman, those kind of things. And it's really frustrating because I felt like I went out of my way to try to not be that.
And the reality of it is 99% of the people know that that's not what you are.
Right.
And so the whole point of this was, if you're going to get into social media and you're going to put yourself out there, unfortunately, we never escape bullies. Like that's what they are. And they're doing it from the standpoint of, you're never going to know who they are. You don't even know what their business is. So, they come at you and they attack your business. They pull your ADV to try to make fun of whatever your AUM is.
Right.
Which is funny because if you're a subscription model, AUM means absolutely nothing, but that's a different story. But, who knows what it is that they've built or have they built? And yet they want to come at people who are willing to take a risk. So that's what frustrates me. So I just want to encourage people. I used to be very reluctant to block. I didn't want people to think I was blocking because I couldn't handle being challenged. I'm open to a challenge. Let's have a conversation. And the same gentleman that you were talking about, when I first got exposed to this type of engagement, I kept on going back with him, trying to get him to tell me, well, what it was that he thought was the right answer. Because I want to, like, if there's something good out there or a strategy that I'm not using that I should know about, like, please tell me, because I want to get better. Like, that's why I'm on this platform. But you're never going to get that. So I look at it this way. It's the mental headspace that I want to protect. And by blocking, that keeps them out of your mental headspace, from them tearing you down and making you doubt yourself. Because after a while of getting that, everybody's going to suffer from it a little bit. And I've seen some great people get knocked down and take a while to get back up because it bothered them so much. So
for sure,
if you block, I wouldn't encourage people to block just because somebody disagrees with you. But when it starts to become hateful and it's just straight up name calling and nothing of any meaning, they don't have the right to do that to you, and you don't have to sit there and receive it. And if you block them, it doesn't mean that you're not open-minded. It just means you're not going to be putting up with somebody else's BS that you don't have to. So I want to encourage people to use the block button quickly and keep that mental space in a good place.
One thing I will say that I've learned, especially on Twitter, is like, if you are going to, once in a while have a kind of a hot take, if you're not going to include nuance in something that you say, you have to be willing to accept that people are going to come at you and be like, well, what about this? Actually. So it's like, if you're going to put yourself out there, you have to recognize that people are going to come at you and they're going to pick apart things, and it's not personal. It's just people. That's what people do.
And that the actuallys are okay. And if you're on social media and you ever see it or experience, you will quickly know the difference between an actually and just an all-out attack that is mean-spirited.
Doesn't mean it's not annoying, though.
Right. No, totally. I don't block because of annoyance. I block because it's just hate.
Right.
Okay, enough on that topic, but I did want to bring it up because I see it. I know people that go through it, and I just want to encourage people, don't put up with that stuff any longer than one time, because you don't have to. And don't worry about it and move on. Okay, so kind of getting closer to the end, I like to tie all of this. So you started your firm. You've built the firm, you have your models in place, you're doing social media, and all through this time, in a short period of time, 2 years, you've created a personal brand for yourself. Was that something that you did intentionally, or is that just something that naturally occurred?
I guess it just naturally occurred. I mean, I was just looking at other advisors in the space that I saw what they were doing, and I was just trying to build my own thing. But like you said, be authentic about it. That's the thing we talked about early on. It's just like, I just want to be me. I want to be able to speak freely and just tell it how I see it. So I just tell it how I see it. And sometimes it doesn't get engagement. Sometimes it does. But at the end of the day, I'm just throwing out stuff that I think is relevant or that I believe in. And that's it. So, and yeah, when you're a solo advisor or a small practice, like, you are the brand to a large extent. So, people are coming for you. So for better or worse, you have to show them you. You don't have to show them all of you, but a lot of you. So,
well, I think I'm glad you answered the way I thought you would, is that it naturally occurred. Because I think I know, in my opinion, personal branding is different than like branding a big corporation. And that really personal branding is just your reputation. It's who you are, what you stand for, your beliefs as a person and as an advisor. And as you consistently tell that story, you put that out there, you begin to focus on educating the public and taking your hot takes and putting them out there. When you consistently do that, that becomes your personal brand. And the beauty of it is, if you're consistently being yourself, then it becomes super easy to do this. It's where if you're trying to put out a fake brand, try to put this image out there that's not really you.
Yeah.
I think that's where it gets hard. But if you're just being you and you're having fun and you're dropping knowledge along the way,
Right.
then you build a very strong personal brand that's going to resonate with enough people to have a successful business.
100%. And you can tell if somebody is not being authentic, in my opinion, pretty quickly.
All right. So I think part of what has become your brand is you are the Jim O'Shaughnessy of memes. He's got the GIF or GIF, however you want to say it.
Right.
But you've got the memes on lock. Like, when does this? Is it the MMA? Is your accreditation that you have?
Honestly, it was kind of just a thing I ran with. I'm not really the master meme artist. So there was a piece by Financial Planning Magazine on big thing on wealth management, Northwestern Mutual, whatever. Their official Twitter account tagged me and it was like, oh, the master meme art, which I thought was funny because it's a master meme artist, TJ Van Gerven. Because so you click on the article and it's just funny because it's all like industry icons like Michael Kitsis and all these people. And then you scroll down and you just see my tweet. It's like a Real Housewives tweet with like the cat. And it's just this funny meme. You can look it up. But so I kind of just ran with it as a shtick. And on Instagram stories, I do a lot of funny memes. Well, I think they're funny. I don't know if people think they're funny, but
I love it. I love it. And I know you're not really going to roll out an MMA like that. Someone should go through a training to get it. But I love the fact that you were willing to try that. But I mean, you kind of have, like, you are one of the advisors that does them the most, and they are funny. And they can also be very damaging as well.
Right.
So you mentioned Instagram. Of all of the platforms to round out the social media conversation, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, like myself, you're on all of them. And I think for certain people that works. And for some people, you just got to pick one or two and just go. But some of us love doing it and be all over.
Yep.
Which platform do you see working best for you? Is there one that you get the most engagement or the most traction, or you feel is the best for your business?
So for growing the business, I mean, probably Instagram, but at the end of the day, for me, it's really the content on the website. Everything should go through the website. Like you got to retweet yesterday, I think about, creating, don't plot on somebody else's land kind of thing. So I agree with that. So the social medias are just a tool. I definitely think for my demographic, Instagram is the best. But that doesn't mean Twitter can't be in the future. But for me, it's definitely Twitter and Instagram. But then everything is funneled through the website. And then just long term, I hesitate to really spend a lot of time on something that doesn't go on the website.
Right.
Yeah.
I just was curious. And again, it's going to be dependent upon your business, your demographic, what your interests are and strengths. But I just was curious, since you are on all of them, if there's one that's best for you.
Yeah, I don't know if there really is, honestly. For me, I just feel like it's all the portfolio that it creates of like content.
So we got a question about what are you reading? So we see Atomic Habits. I see Alchemy. I see Psychology of Money, Against the Gods. What else you got over there?
The Rational Optimist.
Okay.
There's the Essays of Warren Buffett. That's an old one that I had. But really right now I'm just reading Psychology of Money. That's what I'm reading right now.
Shout out to Morgan Housel, who is going to be seeing that book turn into a movie. Are you kidding me?
I know, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I did see that. That's good for him. He deserves it.
So that book question came from Justin Green. Justin, you are one of the loyal live watchers. So thank you very much for always tuning in and for your engagement in the box. I really appreciate you tuning in and supporting and being here for it. Well, before we get to the final question, the last thing I want to ask about, back in the day, I used to see you balling out all the time. And then I think you tweaked your knee or something. Are you still hooping, or have you hung it up?
Honestly, I've kind of hung it up for a few reasons. Obviously, like the pandemic, it's just, there's no activity going on, and it's just not worth the injury risk for me. Like I've had so many ankle injuries, so many knee injuries. I'm just not built for it. Maybe I'll get back to it. Like I like to shoot around and stuff, but like playing 5-on-5 is just too dangerous for me at this point. And with health insurance, how expensive things are, I'm just like, it's not worth going to the emergency room at this point. But it sucks because I love it. Like basketball is one of my biggest passions, 100%. So kind of a bummer.
All right. Well, at least get the shooting ones back in there when the gyms reopen.
Yeah, I'll shoot around.
So final question. Everybody gets the same question.
Okay.
Shout out to Ashley Daniels for inspiring this. I'm going to read it because it's kind of lengthy. But so basically, the essence of branding is something you see, believe, or feel through your unique lens. that the rest of the profession just doesn't see. So what's the thing that you believe about yourself that you see that is overlooked by our peers? So basically, like, what are you seeing? What are you doing different from the rest of our profession that kind of helps your brand?
Again, it's hard because I judge myself based on guys like yourself and women as well. But so it's hard because I live in that bubble. But if you're just comparing me to the rest of the industry, I mean, I don't know. I guess just I like the model. I think my model is future proof as far as there's nobody that a corporation can't undercut me. Like as long as I'm providing massive value and really continuing to grow on the skills, I just don't see, I can never be replaced by anybody. And I don't think you can either. I'm just saying that this is, I can't, like, I'm future proofed moving forward, in my opinion. So that would be my biggest thing. And then, like, I really do enjoy this stuff. It's not like it's easy for me because I am passionate about like continuing to learn about financial planning and investing. And honestly, like this stuff, like the behavioral finance stuff really does get me going, just because I think that's how I got into this, just with my dad and how he grew up and how emotional money is for him. So that stuff really excites me. And I think that's where this is headed as far as like life planning, financial planning. I do lead with the technical stuff. I'm trying to get better at the kind of touchy feely stuff. But either way, I think just this model is future proofed regardless of what happens moving forward.
I like it. I'm a fan of life planning, or however you want to spin it, but going deeper and more to the emotions of money. I agree. I think that's the future, because I think that component of planning, maybe I'm wrong and maybe I'm arrogant on this, but I don't think artificial intelligence or computers are going to be able to dig deep with people and have those conversations and sort through those emotions. They're going to be able to do everything else. They already are. So like the technical financial plan piece, while we still have value there,
Right.
that can be gone after, but being able to sit across from somebody and realize that they're not telling you the full reason they're concerned, and being able to read that and help them get it out there, or help them figure out what it is they really want out of life. So then you can take the technology and build a plan for it. I'm with you. I think that soft skill is something that most people are always going to want.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just like a highly technical financial therapist almost, Right. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey man, this was an enjoyable hour. I appreciate you taking the time and kind of sharing your story and what it is that you're doing, and peeling back the curtain a little bit so people can see more and learn from you. Because that's the whole goal of these podcasts, are for other advisors to learn what other advisors are doing to get better. Because if we're all getting better, it's good for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But where can everybody find you? Drop all the social where you want to direct them to. Remember, these are advisors, so modernwealthbuilders.com probably won't be that important. I'll still link to it.
Yeah.
But where's the spots you want them to go to?
Just, I would say Twitter and Instagram. So at TJ Van Gerven for Twitter. And then if Instagram is at TJ_Van Gerven. So
okay. I'll link to those. So if you're watching this on YouTube, head over to Advisor of Tomorrow, or to justincastelli.io, to the blog over there, and it'll be there in the show notes. But TJ, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing. Keep that conviction and keep building, and life is going to be good for you down the road. I wish I would have started when you did, but we all have to take our own paths.
Yeah.
So, and everybody watching, listening, thank you as always for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe, like, all those good things, help more people find these podcasts so more advisors learn from people like TJ, and we keep on lifting the profession up. And with that, we'll let you go, and see you all in the next episode.
All right. Take care.